Hey guys, welcome back for episode 7 of the Chile Ride series here on the Spanish Dojo channel, which documents my cousins and my motorcycle adventure across the country of Chile in January of 2020. If you haven't done so yet, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Remember that this series is available in both English and Spanish, so if you prefer, solo haz clic aquí arriba para ver este episodio en español. In the prior episode, we made our way across the remainder of the Los Lagos region and headed into the northern part of the Aysén region. The current installment will see us continue to explore within this same region. We're still in the Zona Austral, which is the Austral Zone or southernmost zone. So expect the same beautiful lakes, mountains, fjords, glacier-fed rivers, and amazing countryside, as this is also a continuation of our trek into the area that's more broadly called Patagonia. At the end of the last episode, we were riding along this inlet just south of Puyuhuapi. It's still January 20th, and we'll cover another 95 miles of Route 7 in this episode. Eventually, we hit a stretch of more loose gravel as Route 7 skirted along this same inlet. It was tough to maneuver, which really slowed us down, of course, but that made it good for viewing the scenery. The route turned inland for just a bit to run along and then cross the Ventisqueros River, which is another glacier-fed river, as you can tell by its color. We got into another gravel run as Route 7 worked its way back along another arm of that same sea inlet. This particular section is where the Queulat River flows into the sea. At this point, the road headed back inland and up into the mountains, which involved a lot of switchbacks. Just take a look at this satellite image of this section of the road, and you'll get an idea of what it was like. There were steep hills and high piles of loose gravel, which were worse as you got closer to the edges of the road. So we tried to stay as close to the center as possible, especially when going around the sharp curves, in order to ride on the part that was packed down the most. Unfortunately, on this particular turn, there was an oncoming vehicle occupying one side of the road, so we had to skirt the edge more closely than we would have preferred. David was able to make it through just fine, but I ended up getting stuck in the gravel and then stalling my engine. There was a driver behind me who was kind enough to get out of his car and help me upright the bike. Meanwhile, David had noticed I was no longer behind him and had pulled over and started walking back to see if he could find me and see what had happened. We finally reached the top where there was a pretty cool scenic lookout, so we were able to stop and take a short break. Once we had rested a bit, it was time to head back down the mountain. We eventually made it to the bottom, and there was pavement, and it was awesome. This little bend coming up here is the viaduct known as Piedra del Gato, which you can see from a different vantage point here. As I understand it, this was one of the most challenging parts of the construction of this highway. It's along the Rio Cisnes, or Swan River, which you can see off to the right. This section approaches, then skirts along Laguna de las Torres, or Lake of the Towers. This is Villa Manuales, an idyllic little town tucked away in this beautiful countryside. Honestly, this was probably one of my favorite stretches of highway in the whole trip, just for its simplicity and its wondrous beauty. At this point, we've now covered the 95 miles or so that I mentioned at the outset of this episode. It's still January 20th, and there's still more riding to do as we wanted to make it to Coyhaique before calling it a day. But we were approaching a decision point. There's a fork in the road up ahead where Route 7 splits off to the left, while an alternate route, X50, heads to the right. Both routes would take us where we wanted to go in about the same distance. Route 7 was obviously the main highway, but we could see that it immediately turned into gravel. X50 appeared to continue on pavement, but since it wasn't the main highway, there was no guarantee it would stay that way, and there was a fairly likely chance it could end up being worse. So which one did we choose, and how did it go? Check out the next episode to find out. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Once again, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Click up here to continue with the next episode of the Chile Ride series in English, or if you would like to practice your listening comprehension by rewatching this same episode in Spanish, solo haz clic aquí abajo para volver a ver este mismo episodio en español.